So we are right on the border of South Carolina. So it's really good to kind of understand that, because a lot of people, they have migrated just over the border into South Carolina and live in like Fort Mill or Rock Hill, South Carolina. And so they can take 77. It's maybe 30 minutes to get into this uptown area. This little section here is uptown right here. It's tiny. I mean, this is like 12 blocks long. Our downtown we call uptown. So this is uptown Charlotte here, but it's tiny. It's a very clean, nice uptown. There are a lot of corporate headquarters. There are a few corporate headquarters there, but a lot of the activity really is going to happen in terms of like what you want to do on a daily basis, or if you're going to go to a bar or brewery. A lot of that stuff is just outside of uptown, which I'll dive to in a minute here. All right, so I always like to explain Charlotte like in terms of like historically how it's grown. I just think it's relevant. It kind of helps shape the picture. And I'm not trying to say like, hey, you should also do this or that. I'm just trying to give you some context on like what people have done here. So historically speaking, like Charlotte has kind of grown to the south. So all of this, I mean, kind of call it South Charlotte. And so some of the most expensive real estate, and it's easier to see on this heat map here. So if we zoom in, the median sales prices for different areas, and you can see the yellow, the red's really the most expensive. Those are going to be on average over $1 million. So all this is like prime real estate, and you can see it goes further south to this outer loop here. So Charlotte, there is an outer loop. We have 485, which circles the city of Charlotte. So all these neighborhoods to the south of uptown are prime areas. Freedom Park, probably the most well-known popular park in Charlotte, but Elizabeth, we have Eastover and Myers Park, where those red shaded neighborhoods on the median price map I just showed you. So these are all really like beautiful homes. They're good sized properties as well. Barkley Downs, another prime neighborhood, Foxcroft. And then we have like South Park. There's a mall in South Park, and so this is the mall. You've got all of these to the south are just really good neighborhoods. They're also expensive. Montebello, a great neighborhood that's on the upswing. I would refer to this as, quote unquote, the young money kind of moving into neighborhoods like Montebello, where, big lots, nice, well-built homes, and you're kind of located close to everything. Now, most of these homes, they're going to be built in the 70s, 60s. I think most of them are going to be built after the 50s, but they're older homes. I mean, some are going to be built in the 80s. That's going to be on average what you're going to find in those types of neighborhoods. And depending on where you are, some of these are going to be very hilly, where you don't have much of a yard to use, but some of the best neighborhoods are going to have, nice flat level lots. We've got Quail Hollow, which is where they have PGA golf tournament. So, really good areas. We have famous actors, we have professional athletes that live, a lot of them, live in the South Charlotte, neighborhoods. And so it's a very affluent area. You have the best, I want to say the best schools, but you have one of the top rated school districts in Myers Park High School, and majority of the schools are going to be top ranked. And that is true as you go further south down here. So, and I've kind of skipped over a few, but you have like Dilworth is a small little neighborhood here, and you have South End. So South End is where a lot of the younger demographic. So that used to be all mills over there. The city and developers teamed up 10, 15 years ago, and were able to sort of plan that area in a way that really works from a lifestyle standpoint in terms of like working there. There's some corporate buildings there, and then a lot of apartments and some condos, but basically you can walk to pretty much everything that you're going to need. You have access to all of the amenities that you'll need in South End, as well as like, pretty much most of the South Charlotte area, because a lot of this has just been built up over the years. There's a lot of money that's been invested, whether it's retail or whatever it is that you're looking for is going to be available to you. It does get crowded in these neighborhoods though. Make no mistake about it. It is traffic when you get inside some of these central areas and you're not out close to one of the perimeter main roads here. It can be really tough to kind of get to where you need to be. All right, so further down south, as you get to the 485 loop, we've got Valentine. So this all used to be farmland like 20 years ago. But with so many people moving to Charlotte, they started to develop farmland. And so most of the homes down here are going to be newer. You'll find homes typically built after the year 2000, and they tend to be larger. And so the further south you go here, you've got Weddington, Wesley Chapel, Waxhaw. All of this area here is highly sought after for school districts. You're down pretty far south in terms of distance. So commute times, you're easily on most days, if you're traveling during like the prime, like rush hour timeframes, which is a wide window, you're over an hour commute if you have to go in uptowns. And so just keep in mind that that is a factor. And that was a big deal for me personally. Like I could not live in this, any of this area here just because I need to get all over the region. And I personally needed an area to live in that gave me quicker access to things, because for what I do, I just need to get all over the place. All right, so the prices here, let me kind of dive back in here. So this is this yellow here, it's showing us 600,000 to 700,000. I think these will be smaller homes. Like in Dilworth, for example, there may be a small bungalow that's 1,200 or 1,300 square feet built in the 60s. That's $600,000. The further south you go, typically that's going to be a little bit more affordable. And so when you get down, to Ballantyne, geez, I mean, you're 800 plus. So I'm going to have to give you some other examples here to show you the real prices, but I do want to I wanted to show this heat map just to kind of give a visual of like price, where's the most expensive. But yeah, so these are going to be the prime areas here. All right, let's talk about South Carolina real quick. So South Carolina, you have Fort Mill and lower property taxes in South Carolina. Baxter Village is a master planned development with the neighborhoods, properties, and it's a cool place. You can shop. You have pretty much everything you need there, and you're also pretty close to Lake Wylie, which I'll touch on in a second here. So the further south you go, you have another small city, Rock Hill. It can be a little bit more affordable in Rock Hill. So the further away you go from uptown Charlotte, the more affordable things tend to get. And Tega Cay is going to be pretty highly ranked in terms of lifestyle, good place to live in the Charlotte region. It is a little bit more expensive because you're right on the lake and those homes are older. So any property that's on the lake, on average, they're older and they tend to have a little bit more wear. So we have 3 lakes in Charlotte. And I'll need to zoom out here. So we have the airport to the west of uptown, and then just to the west of that, we have Lake Wylie. And the Catawba River is really what feeds all of this here. So the Catawba River comes down. Lake Norman is the largest lake by far. This tiny lake is Mountain Island Lake right here. And it's very small, and there's dams that are at the south end of each one of these. So there's a dam from Lake Norman getting into Mountain Island Lake, so you can't really travel by boat or anything, but it's the same water system. And then there's a dam here at the end of Mountain Island Lake, and that feeds into the Catawba River, and it turns into Lake Norman. So these are all man-made lakes. This Lake Wylie here, it borders, everything here is north. This is South Carolina. And there's, it's tough to cross over here. You have 49. This is Clover, South Carolina. Very good school district here. And further out, you have York. So York is another area. So same kind of rule, more affordability in York. You can find a lot of properties under 300,000. There's some new construction there right now. And so, 250, 300, you could find, some good properties. Now, let's see. So going back over to the North Carolina, just southwest of the airport, you have Steel Creek. And then this is the Palisades. So Palisades, I want to say it was like just in the early 2000s. It was a master planned community. All of this here next to nature preserves. It's next to Lake Wylie. A lot of really nice homes. All right. So as we go back in and we get to these other areas that are not in these kind of built up neighborhoods to the south of uptown, you have what we, would call like these gentrifying neighborhoods. So like the west end of Charlotte, Ashley Park, Enderley Park, Wesley Heights, Seversville, Smallwood. These are all neighborhoods that have kind of really grown at a very fast pace. So you could, I want to say in 2014, which is when we moved to Charlotte, you could buy a teardown property for $50,000, $60,000 in any of these neighborhoods. Nobody was living there. And now you're paying pretty much close to $300,000 for a teardown. I mean, depending, there's $250,000 for a lot. Essentially, you have $700,000-$800,000 homes. And that is also true in all of this area here. So like Seversville, Smallwood, these little pockets. Wesley Heights, we have historic districts. Wesley Heights is one of the historic districts in Charlotte. So it's pretty cool. Now, Plaza Midwood is where we first moved to when we came to Charlotte. Really kind of fun place to live because you're so close to everything. So this is Plaza Midwood. You can certainly walk into Uptown, but there's a lot of little bars, restaurants, breweries. Looking to just grab a drink, you're going to be able to do all that in the Plaza Midwood. You're close to a lot of action, essentially. You're urban living, and you have a lot of history in some of these neighborhoods. There's some older bungalows, and really, it's a fun place to visit too. So now going further out to the east, the Mint Hill area, and you can kind of see it too on this map, but like this is an area that's like kind of in prime time for a development. So like the Mint Hill area, we are seeing there's a lot of untapped land in the Mint Hill area. So if you're looking for more privacy, or if you want an acre lot, or, and there are some new communities that have large lots, 0.75 or even an acre lot on some of these, that may be a place that would work for you. And so you can still, like, there's new construction there, 600-700 for like larger homes. And obviously there's smaller homes that are going to be probably around 400 or so. And then they have obviously some older homes. And so keep in mind that these averages are going to take into account all those things. So that's why probably these prices aren't as high as what you may end up looking out and seeing, when you're actually looking for something. But yeah, so a little bit more rural. There's not as much retail available there yet, but Mint Hill as well as Matthews down to the south. Matthews is much more built up than Mint Hill. Matthews has a small downtown. Mint Hill also has a little downtown. When I say downtown, it is like a block or two of just some businesses. It's not like, a downtown area with, high-rise buildings and corporate offices. I just mean it has like a main street where there are some businesses that have set up, because that's not common all throughout the region here. So then as we go north, we have what we call the university area, and we have UNC Charlotte right there. The light rail, actually, and I kind of skipped over this, but there is a light rail that goes from the university down through Uptown, through the South End neighborhood that I was mentioning, and it goes all the way down pretty close to 485. And so you can theoretically not need a car if you live very close to the light rail. Practicality, I mean, you need a car to live in Charlotte. You're going to be in your car a lot because the average commute time is like 25 minutes. And I know a lot of people who drive 45 minutes or so every day, one direction to work. So once we get in the outside loop here, 485, we have Harrisburg. Harrisburg is in Cabarrus County, as well as Concord. So Concord, actually, let me go back to Google Maps here. We have the Charlotte Motor Speedway, which is the NASCAR races. But Concord's an older city that has a downtown that's been developing for some years now. And so you can get some good buys in Concord as well as Harrisburg. Your money's going to go further in these areas. As you go back over directly north of Charlotte, we're in Huntersville. Huntersville is this highly sought after area. Huntersville is a little bit more affordable than Charlotte, and there's a lot of nice neighborhoods, relatively newer. There is an older small downtown section, but they've really developed this quite a bit. There's a shopping center called Burketail Village. Basically, it feels like you're kind of on vacation with all the little shops there. I don't know if I can show you a picture of it, but it's a nice place. Traffic can get really busy if you're trying to just do anything near Burketail Village, especially during the summertime, because it's right near the lake, Lake Norman. This is by far the busiest lake. You could be sitting in traffic for quite a bit. Now, we do have 77. You can take 77 all the way up. That takes you even further up north here. So we've got Huntersville, Cornelius, and Davidson. So Davidson College, very tiny college there. Steph Curry played basketball there. And then Mountain Island Lake, I kind of skipped over that. There's not a whole lot of neighborhoods near Mountain Island Lake. It's often forgotten about. There's a lot of people who don't even know about Mountain Island Lake. It sounds like it's in a different area entirely, but it is just a very small area, in between these two larger lakes. But there's really not a lot of real estate. There are some nice lakefront neighborhoods on here. To get into the Davidson area here, most of the home prices are definitely going to be more than $700,000. They do have some fixer-uppers, but it's going to cost, that would cost you $500,000 or so in Davidson. So you can go further up the lake here onto Mooresville. I'm originally from upstate New York. A lot of Northeasterners seem to know of Mooresville, and I'm not sure how, but that is on the northeastern side of Lake Norman. And it's a growing city. It's tiny though, which is why it's so surprising to me that people do know it. And you're also a ways away from Charlotte. You can do it. You can travel on 77 and get to and from Charlotte every day, but that's not that common just because of the commute times. And so just keep that in mind. We do see a lot of people retire in that Morrisville area, but just keep in mind, like if you have to travel to work every day, like that is definitely something you need to factor into. And like we have ways to like look for properties within a certain drive time. So if you said, hey, we need the commute to be less than 30 minutes, we can simply plug in your address and the time of day that you're going to travel, and we know exactly what region, what area would be included. So let's talk about the west side of Lake Norman. So the east side is built up pretty much all the way. I mean, there's always room for a little bit more growth, but on the west side of Lake Norman, not a lot of development overall. I mean, it's grown a little bit in the past 5 years or so, but very limited shopping. You have a lot of small mom and pop shops for the most part, but Denver is a nice spot. You're going to be able to get some nice properties there. Same for Westport, and it's all about commute times, some good deals, and things definitely get less expensive the further north and west you go. So now if we kind of go back a little bit, and just to the west of Charlotte here, we have Belmont, and it's really very close to Charlotte. You just take 85 over. There's a couple different ways you can get there. 74, which is Wilkinson Boulevard. And Belmont is a highly sought after area. It's small. There's not a lot to Belmont. And Belmont and Cramerton are both very good areas. A lot of good neighborhoods, and you're kind of close to everything. We have also the Whitewater Center, which is where the U.S. National Whitewater Team trains, and we can go there as the public. Really fun place to be. That's over here. And then you have Mount Holly to the north, and then Gastonia is all the way to the west. Gastonia, you're going to be able to get a lot more in your budget if you are looking in Gastonia. So that was a lot of info. I hope this helps just give a little bit more information, just shed some light on like what are the areas where, just reference points for when the search really kind of takes that next step. So let me know if you have any questions on this. Until then, I'll see you later. Thanks.